Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a pure 12 build for the Divination Wizard in Baldur's Gate 3. So this pure class build is all about the portent dice, which allows you to change a saving throw or an attack roll, so you really control the battlefield as a Divination Wizard. Now with this, we'll be going over to best cantrips. I would always recommend grabbing Mage Hand, as you can use this to throw water bottles to double your cold damage or lightning damage. In addition, you can also throw health potions, so that's a really good boost to your overall healing and damage. I also like to have Bone Chill to be able to stop targets from receiving healing. And Shocking Grasp is nice if you need to get away from a target, or Ray of Frost to reduce the target's movement speed, but I personally prefer having Shocking Grasp in the early levels. Now, we want to have, obviously, some form of protection, so Mage Armor is extremely useful early game. Having the Shield spells reaction increase your armor class by 5. I also like to have the Find Familiar, and in particular the Raven, because it can apply Blind. That sets up your rogues or anyone else with advantage on attack rolls. In addition to this, I also like to have Magic Missile to have a guaranteed damage option, because it doesn't miss. Thunder Wave for the pushback, because sometimes you can knock people right off of ledges, and it's good to have either Chromatic Orb, Ice Knife for if you're silenced, you can still cast this, and Long Strider if you don't have anyone else in the team with it. I'm going to grab Chromatic Orb for coverage, and for our, I would recommend going with 17 intelligence if you use the Hag's Hair. Like, let's say you're the face of the party, you can use the Hag's Hair. Otherwise, I'm not going to use it, and I think that's good to go with an option of somewheres around. Now, you want to have good dexterity because that'll add to your armor class, so a spread of 16 dex, 14 constitution, and 16 intelligence can work well with 10 wisdom and charisma. However, if you prefer having more health, you can swap the dexterity and the constitution. This will just lower your initiative and your armor class. Level 2 gives us our subclass. So this allows us to learn divination spells from scrolls that will only cost us 25 gold per spell level, which is great. We also get the portent dice, which is a big point of taking the Divination Wizard. After each long rest, you get 2 random portent dice. During the day, you can use your reaction to change the die of any attack roll or saving throw to one of your portent dice, which is crazy because you can also use this to turn attacks into critical hits if you actually get a 20 die. Each portent dice can only be used once, and you lose your unused portent dice at the end of the day, so always use them. Now, another thing about this is we can actually get some more portent dice later on, which we'll get to in this build. Level 2 gives us more spells. Again, we're going to grab Long Strider for the buff, because you can take this and unchannel it there. Ice Knife again, silenced, you can cast that. We'll stick with these spells here. You can also swap out Chromatic Orb. I prefer a Thunder Wave just because the pushback is so good. Level 3 gives us access to some of our most powerful spells. We want to have Scorching Ray and Hold Person. So you can cast Hold Person on someone and then get free critical hits on your Scorching Ray, as it requires an attack roll. And then your fighter can also get critical hits off easily too. So it's a really good spell to have, and we'll leave it at that there. You can either put Hold Person or Scorching Ray depending on what you need, damage or crowd control. We get another cantrip at level 4. I also like to have Minor Illusion. If you're the face of the party, you can take Friends too, but Minor Illusion's great because once we get to level 5, we can drop fireballs on them. So next level, we can use Minor Illusion, which will group enemies together and drop a fireball. Pretty effective. Now, we also get to take 2 more spells. I like to have Misty Step here for the extra movement speed, and then also Mirror Image, because this can increase our armor class by 9. Pretty effective for overall survivability. And we'll prepare the following spells. And for our first feat, I always like to have the Alert feat. A +5 to initiative is beneficial for anybody. In addition, we can also go with an intelligence increase because this allows us to prepare another spell, which is actually pretty good at this level. Level 5 gives us one of the most powerful spells. Now, the thing is, our portent dice are a reaction. I'm going to put asterisks around the reaction because they're a reaction that doesn't use your reaction. So you can keep your reaction for counterspell, one of the best in the game. In addition, I also like to have 1 spread damage option. Fireball is great, but I slightly prefer Lightning Bolt, as you can hit more targets typically with Lightning Bolt due to how they're lined up in the game. And this damage can be doubled, so that 48 becomes a 96 real quick if you got Great Water set up. And our prepared spells, I'd recommend grabbing both the Counterspell and Lightning Bolt. Counterspell being a really good spell, just many reasons why. I don't really think I need to explain that one. Counterspell just great for protecting your team. Level 6 gives us our Expert Divination. You may gain an additional portent die. When taking a short rest, you receive a Prophecy. Complete it to regain the missing portent die. Pretty good, so you can regenerate your portent die here now. Next level, Fireball. Glyph of Warding is also great. Haste can make for a great spell, and I recommend grabbing Haste as it's just a good one to have there. And then we're going to go ahead here with grabbing Fireball into our spell list, and we'll roll with that. Now, once we make it to level 7, we get one of the best spells for crowd control with our Ice Storm. Now, we also get Minor Elementals, and there's only 2 classes that get this, so we want to take it because these are good. They're just really good. Being able to summon in something to take enemy aggro away from your team is so good. Now, at this point, we can remove Find Familiar and put Conjure Elemental there, because the ice methods are pretty good. They're double damage if you have water set up, but they're also just good to draw aggro away from your team. Now, into the next level here, level 8, we get to take a couple more spells. I would recommend Wall of Fire's great crowd control, because it does actually quite a bit of damage. Ever's Black Tentacle is kind of the same deal. I also like to take confusion. Not everyone loves confusion, but the enemy has a 1 in 10 chance of acting normally if you confuse them. Most times they're going to attack their teammates, and it has a huge area of effect. So I personally like that. Greater invisibility and fire shield can be 2 other good spells here if you prefer. But we'll go ahead here, and I'm going to add in mirror image down to the spell list. And we get our next feat. I would just recommend grabbing the alert feat for that +5 to initiative. Also, if you have Hag's Hair, you'll have a 20 intelligence already. Level 9 gives us another really powerful spell, Cone of Cold and Conjure Elemental. These pair together very well because the Conjure Elemental Water Elemental level 5 spell, don't take the Water Mirror Madon, they changed it in patch 8 of Baldur's Gate 3 to no longer apply the wet condition. However, the Water Elemental level 5 version, its main punch will apply chilled, which means the target takes double cold damage. So this Cone of Cold, that 64 damage becomes 128 if you max roll the damage. So these are really good. I highly recommend it. Conjure Elemental is great too because if you have a Cleric with Aid and Hero's Feast, those health buffs will apply to the Elemental, making it great for taking aggro away from your team. Now for our prepared spells, I would recommend grabbing both of these here. So we're going to pop these down. The Elemental is just such a useful spell. Highly recommended. Also, get your team to use scrolls. You can have your fighter summon in a Water Elemental as well. Level 10 gives us an okay ability. Third Eye, See Invisibility. This one's the better one. Third Eye, Dark Vision, it's useful, I guess. Until long rest, you can see in the dark. But honestly, the See Invisibility is the better one here. I think this is pretty, it's got its uses, but compared to some other abilities, yeah, seeing invisible is great. Water will also allow you to see invisible, so you can throw a water bottle to turn creatures visible. Also, I guess we'll take for our next cantrip Firebolt, because sometimes you just need to blow something up without costing you a spell slot. And we'll take Hold Monster, because this is super useful. If you have a Cleric with Hero's Feast, your entire team can hide out in Cloud Kill and not get hurt. So that could be a good choice if you got that set up on your team. Otherwise, we can go back and take like Sleet Storm, which is great to stop concentrations. Glyph of Warding if you're a half elf or an elf, because you can use the Glyph of Sleep and you won't go to sleep. Also, if you have Darkness gear, you can take Darkness and use your concentration on it. I love Darkness, but we're not going to take it for the purpose of this build. We'll just take Sleet Storm. And then for our next prepared spell, I guess we could go with Misty Step. Yeah, you may want to, once we get to level 12, we can take an ability score improvement to open up spell slots. Level 11 gives us 2 of the best spells in the game with Chain Lightning and Odaluk's Freezing Sphere. We can also learn Globe of Invulnerability from a scroll, which is a very powerful spell, but I really like Odaluk's Freezing Sphere. Also, you can get scrolls with this as well, and you can create a huge nuclear attack with multiple Odaluk's Freezing Spheres if you put it in someone's pocket and let them explode. I have a whole video on how to one-shot bosses utilizing that. Underrated spell. And Chain Lightning, obviously, really good. Now, for our next spell we'll take, I'd recommend grabbing Chain Lightning here, and then we're going to add on an ability score improvement at level 12. We also get to take 2 more spells with Globe of Invulnerability, and Wall of Ice actually got changed in patch 8 so that the walls will properly proc their cold damage, and it's actually a pretty good amount of cold damage. You want to break those walls to get the cold damage out, and then you can end the concentration there. And what we'll go with next for our prepared spell, we'll actually add in the ability score improvement here to increase our intelligence. You'll have to go after the fact to apply that, but we'll take the Odaluk's Freezing Sphere there. And then we'll go ahead, that's our level 12. And once you get through that, you actually want to go into your spell book here. Because again, we got that increase to our intelligence, so that gives us another prepared spell list. And then we can go ahead with taking Misty Step there. So that'll be the spells that we take. You can also learn the Artistry of War, the Summon the Seelie, which gives you a Summon Deva, which is super useful. So that's another really good use for your level 6 spell slot if you wanted to. And even if you got the free cast, you can do that. Because our Arcane Recovery doesn't allow us to recover a level 6 spell slot. There's this mod that's making this pop up, but it only allows you to recover up to a level 5. So it gives you a level 5 elemental summon for free, basically. And then what you can also do is get a level 1 spell slot for free. So you can basically do mage armor for free and give it to yourself. Also, this outfit is from the Ethereal Threads mod, so I know I'll get questions around it. So as far as gear goes, I love the Hat of Fire Acuity because this can give you a +10 to your spell save DC. Currently, we're sitting with a 19, so we can take that up to 29, which is really good. Using a Scorching Ray, which we're going to use anyways. Massive. You can get this in Act 2. Earlier than that, the Haste Helmet is going to be a good choice. Now, whatever cloak you got available. I also like to use either the Vivacious Cloak to give yourself temporary health whenever you cast within melee range. You also can go with the Cloak Protection, it's my personal favorite. But also the Thunderskin Cloak, because we can apply Reverberation, and whenever a target deals damage to us, we can daze them. And whenever they're dazed, that means that they're going to be much more likely to get hit with our Hold Persons, or if you have a Cleric or a Wizard or a Paladin, Command will be more likely to land. So that's great. I also like to go with the Robe of the Weave. You can add in really any robe here, or if you got any type of heavy armor like the Helldusk armor, you can obviously apply that. We have 21 armor class. It'll take it up to 24 if we use the mage armor ability. The Hellas Gov armor will put us up to 27. So that's the best late game armor. I'm not going to use it for the purpose of this because I feel like it's almost cheating, but it is extremely effective. The Robe of the Weave is going to be the best other than that. And then when we take a, you can use a scroll of mage armor here to give yourself that mage armor, which is just more efficient. 24 AC there. Now we get the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies, Act 1 item that we can use the entire game. Reverberation is so crazy good. So we want to use that. Thunder, Lightning, and Radiant damage will apply Reverberation on the target. Massive. And then we also have the Evasive Shoes to give us a +1 armor class. If we're going to use ice surfaces, the Disintegrating Nightwalkers can work really well because it prevents us from slipping on ice and losing our concentration. Or even like the Helldust boots. And there's the Boots of Striding from Minthara, which is medium armor, unfortunately, but those would be a good choice too if you wanted to do a single level dip in like the Tempest Domain Cleric. Now, as for rings, the Ring of Mental Inhibition, so whenever a foe fails a saving throw, they get -2 to their mental saves. Huge. So Charisma, Intelligence, and Wisdom. Also, the Ring of Protection. As mentioned about cold builds, you can use cold damage and use a Snowburst ring to create ice surfaces below enemies. I love that, but we're not going to use it for this build. Amulet of Greater Health. This is going to be the squishiest build, so this works well on this target. Now, the Staff of Spell Power is actually really good because we're going to use this and then swap out to Marka Heshker, our preferred staff, because we get an Arcane Battery here, so we can use the Arcane Battery and then summon in our Elemental. As mentioned, the Water Myrmidon is nerfed, so this isn't actually the best choice anymore. It's better for us to use the Water Elemental here because its main attack will allow you to apply Chilled. So whenever you do this, it creates a Water Puddle and applies Chilled. We want to just do that attack and then hit with Cone of Cold for double damage, or Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, which can also hit for double damage. In addition to this, we're going to then swap again to Marka Heshker here, which also gets a free cast if you wanted to cast in like the Summon Diva. If you're in Illithid, you got the free cast ability here, and then we also have the Arcane Recovery. So what we can do is we can go ahead with a summoning in our ice methods here, and then use our Arcane Recovery to recover that level 4 spell slot. So this is pretty good. You want to do this outside of combat because then we have our summons there all buffed up. And I guess you can use your Cleric to buff them up. Once you got this, I would recommend using the Bolts of Doom on the Marka Heshker staff. This gives us a free Chain Lightning. Obviously a huge power spike to overall damage, and we'll go ahead with combat here now. I guess one last thing is the bow. Hellrider Longbow, +3 to initiative. Make sure that we go first. Now, we'll likely not get the same initiative roll as our Water Elemental, so you got to pay attention to who they set up with damage, because whenever they apply the damage, we deal double cold damage, so we want to have that set up. Now, I would recommend our very first thing in combat is to set up crowd control, and that's where Odaluk's Freezing Sphere comes in because it has a huge area of effect. So we can hit 5 targets here and create difficult terrain. This is great. They rolled a 20 to save. We can actually stop that. If we wanted to stop that from saving, and then we'll make sure that we hit them with that. I wouldn't recommend doing it like that, but I just want to show that off as an example. And that took out most of the targets except for one, which are now prone, and they have mental fatigue, so that's perfect. But we have our difficult terrain set up and multiple enemies there. There's 3 of them right here, though, so what we could even do is we'll leave those ones over there alone, and we'll use a Chain Lightning. 85% hit chance, 90, 85. We'll try to hit this target here with it and hope that, it's going to chain to those 4 there, taking out 3 of them, leaving this one with Mental Fatigue and Reverberation. Perfect. Now, we also get a bonus action, so if you're going to lift it, you can use Mind Blast. That would finish off this target, but I'm going to go easy on them this time around. You can Misty Step if you need to get out of combat, but yeah, that was a pretty successful turn, setting up crowd control and dealing a ton of damage. And you can see that there, our ice method, it's taken hits, it creates ice terrain, and we just knocked that guy prone with it. The ice methods are there just to be able to basically stop the targets from receiving damage. We got a portent dice of 9 here, so they need a 21 to hit, they rolled a 26, and then we can turn that to a 9, saving Shadowheart using our magic there. Not always the best thing to use that there, obviously, but just want to showcase that. Our elementals are immune to prone too, which is perfect, so we can go in and get our slam action off. So once we hit them, you see there it has chilled for 2 turns. Whenever they have chilled, this means that they take double cold damage as mentioned there. So this is perfect because this actually gives us a big boost to our damage. And then we can even abuse this by using a water elemental or a ice method here. And it's got not the most powerful attacks, but they're going to deal double damage. So that death burst can actually do quite a bit. Let's go get with this damage option here. They saved, it still did 4 damage, which was doubled. So it's something. Alright, so we have someone over there weak to cold damage. We have this target right in our face here. What we want to do is take care of the high value caster right over here. So I'm going to move around here and try not to proc the opportunity attack. I'm going to try and hit them with, we do have another secret up our sleeves since we have the free cast there. We can do another chain lightning. And if we can hit this target here, that'll chain hopefully around, yeah, that was able to chain to that target and actually hit the target right there. So that takes us down to 1 enemy left. Now, the beautiful thing about this is I have haste applied to my character to showcase the build a little bit better. is we can actually then use something like hold person. This doesn't have a high hit chance, but we landed it. So that just means that they're taking out of the fight, so then we can go in, get free critical hits with our attacks. So you can go ahead here, slam on this enemy, and it's going to be a free crit. They're now chilled, which then you can go ahead. This is where it all comes together. Ice damage is pretty crazy. Not the most ideal to use Death Burst here, but that was not enough to take out the target. That's kind of funny. And it actually took them out of the their hold person there. They saved on it. So I guess now, normally we'd use Scorching Ray to get our Arcane Acuity up. I didn't even use that side of the build. This is about fire and ice. But this target has low health, so all we have to do is hit them with a magic missile. And that should be enough to finish them off there. So boom, there it is. Divination Wizard, the Protector. Also a good damage dealer, because Odaluk's Freezing Sphere. Underrated spell, crowd control and damage. Chain Lightning, wipes the face off the planet. And then we also had our Arcane Battery, so we could have had another Chain Lightning there too for even further damage. It's nuts what this build can do. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and we'll catch you all in the next video. Let me know what level 12 pure class build you want to see next.